Hi again. It's chapter 19. Are you ready? For the inventing room, everlasting gobstoppers, and hair toffee. When Mr. Wonka shouted, "Stop the boat!" the Oompa Loompas jammed their oars into the river and backed water furiously. The boat stopped. Oompa Loompas guided the boat alongside the red door. On the door it said, "Inventing room, private, keep out." Mr. Wonka took a key from his pocket, leaned over the side of the boat, and put the key into the keyhole. "This is the most important room in this entire factory," he said. "All my most secret new inventions are cooking and simmering here." Old Fickagrubble would give his front teeth to be allowed inside for 3 minutes. So would Prodnose and Slugworth and all the other rotten chocolate makers. But now, listen to me. I want no messing about when you go in. No touching, no meddling, no tasting. Is that agreed? "Yes, yes," the children cried. "We won't touch a thing." Do you believe that? Up to now, Mr. Wonka said, nobody else, not even an Oompa Loompa, has ever been allowed in here. He opened the door and stepped out of the boat into the room. The 4 children and all their parents scrambled after him. "Don't touch," shouted Mr. Wonka, "and don't knock anything over." Charlie Bucket stared around at the gigantic room in which now he found himself. The place was like a witch's kitchen. All about him, metal pots were boiling and bubbling on huge stoves, and kettles were hissing, and pans were sizzling, and iron machines were clanking and spluttering, and there were pipes running all over the ceiling and walls, and the whole place was filled with smoke and steam and delicious, rich smells. Mr. Wonka himself had suddenly become more excited than usual, and anyone could see that this is the room he loved the most. He was hopping about among all the saucepans and machines like a child among his Christmas presents, not knowing which to look at first. He lifted the lid from a huge pot and he took a sniff. And then he rushed over and he dipped a finger into a barrel of sticky yellow stuff and had a taste. And then he skipped across to one of the machines and turned half a dozen knobs this way and that, and he peered anxiously through the glass door of a gigantic oven, rubbing his hands and cackling with delight at what he saw inside. Ha 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 ha, that's a cackle. And then he ran over to another machine at a small shiny affair that kept going foot, 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 foot. Every time it went foot, a large green marble dropped out into a basket on the floor. At least it looked like a marble. "Everlasting gobstoppers," cried Mr. Wonka proudly. "They're completely new. I'm inventing them for children who are given very little pocket money. You can put an everlasting gobstopper in your mouth, and you can suck on it, and suck it, and suck it, and suck it until it will never get any smaller." "So, it's like gum?" cried Violet Beauregard. "It's not like gum," said Mr. Wonka. "Gum is for chewing, and if you tried chewing one of these gobstoppers, you'd break your teeth off. But they taste terrific, and they change colors once a week, and they never get any smaller, and they never disappear. Never. At least I don't think so. There's one of them being tested at this very moment in the testing room next door. An Oompa Loompa is sucking it. He's been sucking it for very nearly a year now without stopping, and it's still just as good as ever. Now, over here," Mr. Wonka went on, skipping excitedly across the room to the other side. "Over here, I'm inventing a completely new line in toffees." He stopped beside a large saucepan. The saucepan was full of thick, gooey, purplish treacle, boiling and bubbling. By standing on his toes, little Charlie could just see inside of it. "That's hair toffee," cried Mr. Wonka. "You just eat one tiny bit of that, In exactly half an hour, a brand new, luscious, thick, silky, beautiful crop of hair will start growing all over the top of your head. And a mustache. And a beard. A beard? Cried Veruca Salt. Who wants a beard, for heaven's sakes? It would suit you very well, said Mr. Wonka, but unfortunately the mixture is not quite right yet. I've got it too strong. It works too well. I tried it on an Oompa Loompa yesterday in the testing room, and immediately a huge beard started shooting out from his chin, and the beard grew so fast that it soon was trailing all over the floor in a thick, hairy carpet. It was growing faster than we could cut it. In the end, we had to use a lawnmower to keep it in check. But I'll get the mixture right soon, and when I do, there'll be no excuse for any more little boys and girls going about with bald heads. But Mr. Wonka, said Mike TV, little boys and girls never do go about with... Don't argue, my dear child. Please don't argue, cried Mr. Wonka. It's such a waste of precious time. Now, over here, if you will step all this way, I will show you something that I'm terrifically proud of. Oh, do be careful. Don't knock anything over and stand back. And chapter 20 is the great gum machine. Here is the Oompa Loompa with the hair. And in case you wondered what the witches, he said it looked like a witch's lab. Look at all those pipes and containers. And that's all for that chapter. When you come back, we'll be on chapter 20. I hope you come back and finish the story with me. See you then.